Hi there, come on in. I'm Fred Trost. It's Thursday night, November 23rd, the year 2000. I know it's Thanksgiving evening here and you're all stuffed sitting on the couch. Well, if you're a deer hunter or even if you're not and you want to know what it's all about, join me. We're going to take you on opening morning out in the deer blind in Imlay City. Oh, we had a skiff of snow on the ground, just enough to make the visibility perfect. So please, we're going to go deer hunting. You stay tuned.
Is that a buck? He's got his head down.
Yeah, I'd get ready, dude. He's chasing a doe.
Several years ago, hunting with a firearm and an elevated platform was illegal. Now it's legal. Now, hauling a gun up a tree like that by putting a hook through the trigger guard, several people have been hurt this year, as I understand it, doing that because they put their guns up in the tree like that while they're loaded. Now, that's idiotic. Do not load your gun till you get in the tree. The ladder we use to get up in the tree is another danger point for a lot of hunters. They're slippery and icy. A number of hunters have had the steps break and fall down, and that's the dangerous time of getting up into a tree stand. If this wasn't a solid, secure tree stand, my son Zachary and myself would not be up here on November 15th. This is a 4x8 platform built by the Walton family, Gary Walton, Norm, and Warren Walton, and we're up in Imlay City, the same blind we were in last year. That's the setting. Now, what you see right here is not opening day. I took these shots from the ground the third day of the season. But here we are, November 15th, just after daylight. I know it looks fairly bright, but the camera picks up, iris opens up, and it makes it a little lighter than it actually is. But this is what we saw, snow on the ground, just enough to create a contrast on the ground with the trees and with any deer or any critter that's moving. We're not as concerned with tracking snow as we are with snow that gives us visibility. That's the panorama from the blind, and there, right there, early on, there's a movement. Was that an ear of a deer? Was that a leg? What was it? Well, that turned out to be a squirrel. Now, it was only about 10 after 7, and there we go, a deer right off the bat. The light was marginal. They were back in the thickets, but it looked like a good sign.
I think it's a doe and a fawn.
It's actually a doe and 2 fawns. No antlers, but the thing is, you never know if a buck is going to be following them. When that doe comes into heat, the bucks will be after her, and she'll leave the 2 fawns. So while we watched them leave, we looked behind to see if there wasn't a buck sneaking up. Fortunately, with the snow, we could see. We'd never see this if the snow wasn't there.
Tell you, dude, without the snow, I never would have seen them.
I know. They walked right on through.
You see all 3?
Yeah. Yep.
Well, it lightened up a little bit. Now it's about 20 after 7. Squirrels moving all around.
1, 2, tails up.
Holy cow.
Jesus.
Oh, they're running back and forth.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's...
At 20 after 7 in the morning, these deer aren't playing. They're running. They're scattering.
That almost looks like a buck. There's got to be a buck in there, dude.
I'm thinking...
If they're chasing like
yes.
that.
Okay, here he comes. Is that a buck? He's got his head down.
Yeah, I'd get ready, dude. He's chasing a doe.
I am ready. God, I wish I could see.
Well, that solves that mystery. A lot of does in there running back and forth in circles, scattering, because the buck is looking for the one in heat.
Yeah, we got a buck chasing does in there.
Coming around this way. They're coming around this way. Shoot, they're going across.
Going to the clearing?
No, they just went across to the other field there.
Boy, that was quite a frenzy.
I only counted for 2 of them, though.
Is there any more left over here?
I don't know. Couldn't see him show up over here. Okay, yeah, there's a few more.
Huh?
Yeah, there's some more still back here in the woods right here. Okay, here they come. Okay, here they are. They're in the clearing. They're in the clearing.
Can't hear you.
They're in the clearing. They just crossed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, and that was a. Oh, here comes a big boy. There he goes. Yeah, that was a spike. Very few. Okay, here they are down here in the clearing. Coming across, not in the clearing. Okay, see them?
Oh, okay, there. Yeah.
Well, we knew there were at least 8 or 10 deer there. It appeared to be more because they were circling. They were being scattered. It was exciting.
I swear with the head down looks like a buck, but looks like a spike or something.
That's what I thought I saw was a spike.
Boy, he's chasing them.
What we were waiting for was that buck, or if there were 2 bucks, one of them, to come chasing a doe under our tree stand. Now, we seemed to be in a spot where the deer were always, 100, 150 yards away, but we could see them back and forth, moving, scattering. All we need is a little luck right here, waiting for the buck. And it's probably 25 after 7 right now. Oh, we've seen tons of activity. That's one thing that makes deer hunting an awful lot of fun. You might find this maybe a little boring as you sit home. You say, well, those deer are hardly moving. Well, the anticipation is overwhelming. It's interesting to watch the deer, their behavior, how they interact, how they seem to disappear when they're standing still, except for the flickering of their ears. When we're looking at them from a distance, you can imagine how difficult it is to see.
There's one right behind the tree there. It's getting
Yeah.
ready to come out into the clearing, maybe.
Zach and I'd have to tell each other where we saw the deer, where they were standing, if we kept our eye on them. You take your eye off of the deer, sometimes it's difficult to find them again until they move their heads. That's a big giveaway. Everything you've seen up to this point has been within the first half hour of the opening of the deer season. When you have that many deer out in front of you, you have twice as many eyes and twice as many ears. So when we stand up and we move, we're silhouetted against the sky in that tree blind, the deer can catch a movement of us just like we're catching the movement of them through the woods. They're not sure what we are, but we certainly don't look natural up there. This doe seemed to be a little hesitant. Maybe that's why they weren't coming our way, but again, it just might be the way the buck is running and the way the does are running. They just haven't chosen up to this point to come through our area.
What'd you say?
Said I'm beginning to wonder. 2 years now. That may be the place to be over there. We've seen deer coming in. We've seen deer going out. We've seen deer at lunch over there.
Yeah.
That's the dilemma that every deer hunter faces, asks himself the question, maybe I should move over there where we see the deer. Well, you never know. This woodpecker here might look like a downy woodpecker or a hairy woodpecker. I believe this is what's called a red-bellied woodpecker. The zebra ladder back across the back, red on the head. Now what is that noise? Actually, it's geese, not Canada geese. I think they're snow geese, possibly blue geese.
I was gonna maybe pull some of that snow out of here, and I went to lift up the carpet, and we got a little friend in here. See him?
Where?
Right there.
Oh, yow, yow.
I think that's
that's
probably
what
the only one in there.
Oh.
That's his little bro. That smells nice down there, too.
Right down. He's over here somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, there are 3 of us up here.
Yeah.
Well, it's about 8:30 now. Deer are moving again, this time closer. We've seen squirrels, mice, geese, woodpeckers, crows. It's really been something. Now we have a fawn once again. Now, we don't know if this is one we counted before, if it's a different one, but we do know that it could be an indicator of a buck. This could be a fawn that is being chased by a buck, or its mother could be chased by a buck right now. So seeing deer like this is exciting because it means the bucks might be nearby.
Right next to him. One just got up right next to him.
You saying the one was bedded down there?
I swear there's one right behind there. Yes, he just put his head down again. He's a dark deer.
No, those are two fawns. Could be their mothers being chased by the buck.
Now, Zach thought he saw the one fawn get up, which would mean it was bedded down, which would mean it was bedded down when we came into the woods. Now, that's kind of hard to believe. You wouldn't think that that's true, but what you're going to see in the next few minutes is equally as amazing.
Looks like were there buttons on there?
Yep, it's a button buck.
Not big enough though, right?
No.
No, to be legal in Michigan, a buck has to have antler tine spikes at least 3 inches long. But there they are. Those are the little buttons. This is a 6-month-old fawn. Now, fawns aren't known to be particularly cagey, particularly smart, particularly bright. Apparently that's something they pick up in their first year, but not in their first 6 months. We've been talking up here, we've been moving around, and the buck still decides that this is a nice place to be. You see, we have a crosswind, so the wind is blowing from left to right. This little deer doesn't smell us, apparently doesn't see us, and look what it's doing.
Just bedded down.
It plopped right down, doing what people say it's bedding, it's sleeping. Well, it isn't really bedding or sleeping. You're going to see it's going to be chewing its cud, just like cattle.
So it's laying down right there.
It's laying down right there now. It's amazing. I wonder if it was the same one that was just sleeping over there.
I don't know.
Grabbed some food and went to sleep.
Well, sleeping's a little bit of a misnomer, and now I can't find the deer.
There's no way you'd see that out there in the set, but
I lost him.
it was so camouflaged. There's that one tree right there by the brush pile, the little one. It's right behind that. All I can see is fur, and I know it's fur.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Very difficult to see unless they move. When he moves his head, looks like it might be a bird in there, but that's the little button buck.
See anything over there? No.
We go from a flurry of activity in the morning with tons of deer out of range to this situation where we have a button buck right in front of us, 30 yards away, sitting there motionless most of the time. You can see my watch hanging in the tree. It is 7 minutes till 9. Okay, we're going to want to time this because that buck stays in front of our blind for a long time. Now there he is, chewing his cud. That's primarily what the deer do when they, quote, bed down, unquote.
Me and Judy looking for Gary.
Well, a little bit after 10 o'clock on opening morning, we hear a voice calling for Gary. We figure it must be his wife trying to get a hold of him.
That must be.
Somebody calling for Gary.
Oh, it's a woman.
Yeah. I don't know.
I would imagine there must be a problem.
The car drove clear around the perimeter of the woods. This little buck observed everything but didn't move from his hiding place. He stayed there even when Gary came to the bottom of our tree.
See anything yet?
Yeah, we have one bedded down.
There's a button bedded down right there.
No.
No, button buck.
No, I saw 9.
9 of them?
Do you need us to do anything, or?
Probably saw one buck about 10 to 7. It was too dark out yet.
Huh.
Do you need us to do anything, Gary, or?
What's that, Jack?
Do you need us to do anything, or?
No, I don't think so.
You sure?
Thanks, yeah.
Okay.
Just to get going, so.
Okay.
Okay. Hope everything's fine. Well, Gary did have to run to the hospital for a family emergency, but it was taken care of.
That stayed right there, isn't it? Let me find it again. Oh, yeah. Right in there.
Yep, he's up. He just popped up.
Well, my watch said 10 till 11. That buck had been there a half hour after Gary left, but he knew we were in the tree. He barely moved, but he jumped up, stood and looked, and then took off.
I think he saw you that time.
Yeah, I think so.
Try a mouse check.
I think maybe it's back. I doubt it.
No mice.
Because he would have had to run past us. He ain't gonna come back.
11:30, opening morning. We left the blind, the deer were gone, and we went back to the Walton farm for a pancake breakfast and to see who got bucks. For all the hunters in this farming area around Imlay City, only one buck was brought in by the Walton crowd. Is that yours, Norm?
No, that's John's here.
First thing you know, that buck come right down there just,
Well, what's the scoop, John?
well, this is an exciting year for me. I don't usually get a buck every year.
Well, John Kyle Sr. from Lapeer was the lone hunter to bag a buck on opening morning in this area.
Yeah, he's a nice deer.
See, there's a tree on the one side there.
Well, I mentioned that John Kyle Sr. brought the sole opening morning buck to the Walton farm on November 15th of the year 2000. Last year, it was John Kyle Jr. who brought in the only opening morning buck. He looks kind of sad there, doesn't he? What time did you get him?
About 9:15 this morning. Yeah. I've seen about 8 deer. This is the only buck, but it's...
These were the only antlers we had to admire at the time, and taking nothing away from John Kyle, a 19-pointer from Wayne County was hanging on the Mill Creek buckbolt in Dexter. Randy Fritz from Brownstown Township got it. A piebald buck, brown and white, was taken by Jim Barber from Fowlerville.
Patience is a virtue.
Advice from Vicki and Lisa, who just met at the buck pole.
Just since today. Sisters of the hunt world.
Oh, that was just a little smidge of the buck pole. I got so much great tape on the first couple days of deer season and at the buck pole that next week I'm going to do a whole full-blown feature. Super big bucks, great people, great stories. That's all coming your way next week. Right now I want to shift gears a little bit. A lot of people have asked about what is the authority of conservation officers. You know that myself and Toby White are starting up a Sportsman Civil Liberties Association to protect the constitutional rights of sportsmen. What's this all about? Well, you've heard me talk about it. Now let's hear from Toby.
Well, Fred, I think that what we began up in Alpena by talking to those 350-odd hunters has really opened my eyes up to how serious a problem this is. There are many hunters and many property owners, and their rights under the Fourth Amendment and their outright property rights are being violated by a particularly aggressive group of COs who seem to think they have the right to come onto the property for any notion they have that there might be some reason to find bait or hunting that's illegal, or just to come in and ask to see if somebody has a hunting pass when they don't even really know for sure if there's a hunter on that property. It's troublesome to think about hunters whose hunt is interrupted and spoiled because they want to presume they don't have a license and come in and just ask for that license. By then, the game is scared off and the hunt is ruined. The officers know that. They seem to persist in this policy, some officers in some places. The property rights, the Fourth Amendment protects us from intrusions by police officers, also by conservation officers. And they are agents of the state. There is a great deal of confusion about what would be the plain fields reason to come on the property and what really constitutes the reasonable suspicion or probable cause that's required in order to come on somebody's property. A reasonable suspicion is not that, oh, there are hunters here every year, we can go out there and we'll find somebody. They need some reason to believe that there is some sort of law being broken at the time when they come aboard. Otherwise, they need to go and get a warrant and demonstrate to an impartial magistrate somewhere, someplace, that there's a reason to go on somebody else's private property. The best analogy that comes to mind with respect to hunters being bothered about licenses when they're in the middle of the hunt is the simple idea that we can drive down the highway, and unless there's some law being violated, unless there's some speed limit being exceeded, unless there's some weaving or dodging or darting amongst traffic that creates a hazard, the police officer can't pull you over and assume that he has the right to ask you for your driver's license. Likewise with hunting, one would think that if you look like you're hunting within the proper bounds of hunting, it should be assumed that you have a hunting license. And there are more appropriate times to inspect. For example, when somebody is with their kill, then that might be a time to check and see that the license is verified, but not while you're simply in the act of hunting.
You've picked up quite a bit of this stuff, Tobe.
Not near enough, because the more I hear, the more I realize I need to know, and the more education I think that hunters need as to how to be able to come back and start enjoying hunting again. At this point, the CO's conduct in many regards puts what we lawyers refer to as a chill on the spirit of the hunter. In common layman terms, that means people chuck up their arms and they say, it's just not worth it to hunt anymore. There are people in this country that seem to echo the phrase, this used to be a free country. And a lot of that freedom to go, to hunt, to explore the outdoors and to be there. And when you saw a conservation officer or some other park ranger type that you expected him to be friendly and cordial and help you to enjoy the outdoors has taken a sudden and dramatic shift over the last decade. And now they are uniformed and act a great deal like draconian agents of the state that want to spoil your fun and drive you off of the land so that you can observe it driving by in your car but not get out there and really enjoy it the way it's intended.
Toby was a classmate of mine at Cooley Law School. He actually did better than I did in the litigation classes. Very sharp, very eloquent, very aggressive. Just the kind of guy I like to work with. You're going to hear more from him in the future. In the meantime, while you're waiting for next week's show, make sure you get outdoors. You've got a great weekend ahead, and it's a great place to be. See you next week. This woodpecker here might look like a downy woodpecker or a hairy woodpecker. I believe this is what's called a red-bellied woodpecker. The zebra ladder back across the back. Red on the head. Now what is that noise? Actually, it's geese, not Canada geese. I think they're snow geese, possibly blue geese.
I was gonna maybe pull some of that snow out of here, and I went to lift up the carpet, and we got a little friend in here. See him?
Where?
Right there.
Oh, yow, yow.